How's it going, guys? Ollie from flightcomp, and we're working on part 2 of the Bob Martin SR-7 vintage slope glider build. Part 1 we unboxed and had a look at the parts and the kit, and then we glued on the sub, trailing, and leading edges onto the wing cores. So I've done that, they've been glued on, and I have actually sanded them to the contour of the wing with 100 and then 200 grit sandpaper. I used some masking tape to help with that. You can watch some of that video now. And then the next thing we have to do is cut out a root rib and tip out of this 3/16 balsa, and those are going to get glued on here and here. And then again, we're going to sand those to the contour of the wing, and then we can move on to sheeting these guys with the ply sheeting. So I've just traced the ribs using just the cores as a template. There are paper templates, but when I actually matched these up to the cores, they weren't really the right size and shape, so I just used the cores in a pen and traced around it. And I'm going to cut them a little oversized and then sand them down later. So I'm going to use my jigsaw to cut these guys out. All right, more progress. We have the tip and root ribs glued on, held in place with tape. Again, I'm using wood glue, and we're going to let this dry overnight. Then we're going to sand these to match the core, and then move on to getting the ply sheeting applied. I have put all the balsa pieces on the cores. So we have the ribs on the tips and the roots, and I've done all the sanding. They're nice and flush and everything is smooth. I've done both sides. And now we're ready to move on with the sheeting. Here is the sheeting here, and as Fred pointed out, it is birch ply, not light ply. Sheeting, 1/64 of an inch. And it was pretty oversized, which is nice actually, because you're not worrying about not having enough material. But I put the cores on, and I just put the cores on top and traced around 1/4 inch on the edges and trimmed them up a little more. And I've marked them how they go. And I've lightly sanded with 220 the bottom sides because there were some little bumps and protrusions and things, just to smoothen them all out. And I think I'm going to apply the sheeting with epoxy. And I'm going to just do the weight method where, get everything set up, put the sheeting on the cores, and then just stack a bunch of weights on the beds to get a good bond, because I don't really want to set up my vacuum bagging system for this. So yeah, let's move on with getting the epoxy applied and getting the sheeting on. Everything is set up. I got all the sheeting in place. Everything is laminated with epoxy. Spread it all out. Got everything in place, and they're loosely lined up in their beds now. So the next thing to do is to get everything positioned as accurately as we can, and then stack some weights on top and let it cure overnight and see what we get tomorrow. So I've piled on as much weight on these cores as I can find just lying around my workshop. And we will let these cure overnight and see what the results are tomorrow morning. Alright, I've pulled the wings out of the cores. It's been over a day. They came out pretty good. I have trimmed up the sheeting slightly just with some scissors. So now I'm going to block sand all the sides and then get these ready for putting on the leading edges and maybe the wingtips and things like that. Well, the edges are all trimmed up, sanded nicely. So far, everything is looking pretty good. And I've gone ahead and installed the leading edge stock on this wing half, and I'm going to do it on this wing half. And again, I'm just using wood glue. The leading edge stock is pretty thick. It's like 3/8 by 1/2 inch. And it's pretty hard balsa, so sanding it's going to be nice, or not really. But I'm going to go ahead and install this on this panel. And I think that might wrap it up for this video. I think I probably got plenty of footage, probably more than 10 minutes or so. So I'm just going to move on with this. I'll come back on the third part with maybe sanding the leading edges, doing the trailing edges, and joining the wing halves. So we're making really good progress on this SR-7. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.